Hello, YouTube. It is I, the Amazing Kitty Assaultus, with another video. And today I'm going to be giving my thoughts on a clip that I found on Twitter. And without further ado, let's go to the clip. And so, let's just play the video.
I think that white people are committed to being villains in the aggregate, right? The real sort of issue here, and I've heard people sort of say it, is one, I think that white people viscerally fear. It's not that white people don't know, right, what they have done. They know. They fear that there is no other way to be human but the way in which they are human, which is to, so, like you talk to white people and whenever you really want to have a reckoning about it, they say stuff like, it's just human nature. If y'all had all of this power, you would have done the same thing, right? And it's like, no, that's what white humans did. White human beings thought there's a world here and we own it. Prior to them, Black and brown people have been sailing across oceans, interacting with each other for centuries without total subjugation, domination, and colonialism. Right? We have seen what a show this iteration of treatment of other human beings means, and that my hope is that we would do it differently, in the moments when we have some power. We will not do it perfectly, but I do think that all of us can sort of agree that a politics that says like there are superior and inferior human beings just isn't the way to go. And that's the thing that white people don't trust us to do because they are so corrupt. Their thinking is so morally and spiritually bankrupt about power that they can't they fear viscerally, existentially letting go of power because they cannot imagine that there's another way to be. It is either that you dominate or you are dominated. And isn't it sad that is spiritually who they are and that they can't imagine a sort of more expansive notion of the world? The thing I want to say to you is we got to take these motherfuckers out. But we can't say that, right? We can't say, I don't believe in a project of violence. I truly don't. Because I think in the end that our souls suffer from that. And I do think that some of this is a spiritual condition. So here is where I land most days about white people. And I actually have been helped in this by thinking about indigenous people, right? See, part of the challenge around whiteness is that it totally skews our view of everything, right? I gave this TED talk about this some years back, and one of the reasons I was trying to think about it is the world didn't start when white people arrived in America and tried to tell all the rest of us how things were going to go. There were people out here making worlds, Africans and indigenous people being brilliant, and, libraries and inventions and, vibrant notions of humanity and cross-cultural exchange long before white people showed up being raggedy and violent and terrible and trying to take everything from everybody. And that's really important because if we believe that history starts for us when white people drag us to these shores, then we can never get outside of the notion that this is going to be our existential struggle. All things that begin end. White folks are not infinite and eternal, right? They ain't gonna go on for infinity and infinity. And that's super important to remember, that white colonialism and imperialism has a beginning. And in my way of thinking about the world, that means it has an end. And so part of what we are trying to do is to imagine what are the steps that we must take to get to the other side of this very inconvenient epochal interruption of Black and indigenous world making. I mean, does that give people comfort on the day to day when you just having to deal with white folks and the travesties that they create and the sense that they want to destroy the planet? Nah, there is a world beyond even our sojourn on the earth. And so whiteness is going to have an end date because it is not, despite what white people think of themselves, they do not defy the laws of eternity, right? Their projects are not so sophisticated that the natural laws of physics change for them. And when we sort of humble them humble our own understandings of whiteness, it seems like the biggest giant that we face. But in the end, right, it is what I like to say is, Black folks were out here for centuries and centuries and millennia doing all kinds of wonderful things and probably some up things too, but whiteness is largely an inconvenient interruption. And so we then get to ask ourselves, so why am I here in this moment of it? Like, damn, why did I show up in this particular iteration? And it's like, well, I think we showed up in this iteration precisely so that we could help to figure out an end and a way to the other side of this, gargantuan historical tragedy that is white supremacy.
Wow, that was in that. Oh, let's blame an entire race for something that not all white people did. Like, yeah, they might have been engaged back then, but most people nowadays probably don't support that kind of crap. So I'm gonna give you my thoughts on this. I'll probably just give my thoughts on this. Like, I'll find it here. Yeah, all the authority, all the worldly power, all the positions, all the fame, all the wealth, and all the prestige are nothing but child's play. It's all an illusion. So this whole notion of white people don't want to give up power is a bunch of malarkey. Like, I can tell you where, personal power is something you should never give up to people, especially people like that lady. Like, I would never give my personal power up to that lady. And one of those things, and one of the other things I want to talk about is maybe the only way to stop oppression is to not be drawing these distinctions: white people, black people, Hispanic, and just look at it as the proclivity that all human beings are capable of what she just described, of like doing all that kind of crap. It's not, our skin color is not what defines us. It is the character of our heart, as Martin Luther King Jr. once said. And I've got something else to say here, and I'm going to find it. So I'm going to go and find that right now. And so I have one more thing that I actually missed that I want to read. One cannot be moral, ethical, and serve money by making it their highest priority, i.e. their God. What benefits a man who has the whole world if he loses himself? The self-realized man realized long ago that all these things are but vanity of vanity. All is vanity. Vanity of vanities, all is vanity. And so that's on her remark about power, about white people being afraid of losing power. Well, that's certainly not the case with every white person. So she's wrong. Lao Tzu said that there is no greater misfortune than underestimating your enemy. Underestimating your enemy means thinking that he is evil. Thus you destroy your three treasures and become an enemy yourself. And that was said in the Tao Te Ching. Oh! And the Tao Te Ching. And I would recommend this translation to many of you. If you want like a good translation, this is probably one of the best translations. Actually, more localization, if any. This is more of a localization, if anything. Which I'm not always against localizations. This depends. As long as they keep the spirit of, a work. As long as localization keeps the spirit of the work, it makes the point, the overall point. And so, yeah. Did Jesus not say? And I would say, didn't Jesus not say something similar? By the way, stop judging so that you won't be judged. Because the way that you judge others will be the way that you will be judged. And you will be evaluated by the same standard with which you evaluate others. Why do you see the speck in your brother's eye but fail to see the obstruction in your own eye? And of course, that comes from the book of John, from the Gospel according to John, I believe. So it's like all these judgments about people, and this is really, really strange, in my honest opinion. That people, that she's just being like that judgmental. Like the way she's going about it is like saying that like white people are or this or that. I mean, how, like, judging an entire people like that is like saying that black people are known for being thugs and that's all that they're known for. That's messed up. That's extremely messed up that these people think that way. And they think that approaching it from that as an issue that only one group of people have, like, this is an issue that all humans throughout history have had. It's not just simply white people, it's like every group, to some extent, almost every group that is, has had to put up with this. Almost every group. And so it's like, well, yeah. It's important to actually have to consider the perspectives of other people and understand even the individual perspectives are themselves unique. And if you don't recognize that, then you're going to fail at actually doing anything to fix the world. Not to fix the world, but to get the world, to correct the course that the boat is going in. Like, everything is dual, everything has poles, everything has its pair of opposites. Like and unlike are the same. Opposites are identical in nature, but different in degree. Even individuals themselves are like opposites within opposites. All truths are but half-truths. All paradoxes may be reconciled. Everything flows out and in. Everything has its tides. All things rise and fall. The pendulum swing manifests in everything. The measure of the swing to the right is the measure of the swing to the left. Rhythm compensates. So it's that notion that, so it's this notion that the whole world, that things come and go, you know, and of course, got this one's gonna be more on her remarks about race, like my what I think, rather not so much what I think, but rather what I know to be certain. There is a whole world of outside of the world of distinctions, outside of the world of black man, white man, man, and woman. This reality, or rather unreality, as many of you would call it, is the world of indistinction, i.e., the absolute. What is the difference between steam, ice, and water? There is none. That thou art tatavam asi, and not this nor that which lies in the world of distinctions. Neti, i.e., the world of bumping particles. The world of distinctions is nothing more than a shadow of objects upon the wall. The absolute is in distinction because it is without separation. When we look at the heavens, we see ourselves, reflected as if Shiva was shown a mirror to his face by Parvati. In simplest terms, you are what you are looking at. What is it with women being the revealers of wisdom? That is what or rather, who Brahman is, the revealer of wisdom. Neither male nor female strictly, but is embodied in both. Here is man's problem. What we should not be doing is seeing the world through the lenses of race, gender, and sexuality. To see the world through such lenses is the very reason why we are divided. We can even extend this to religion and politics as well. Racism and sexism, like many other forms of bigotry, are what brings about polarization. And you can't stoop down to the level of the wicked in order to bring about change, as Martin Luther King Jr. would have probably said. Polarization is only going to create more polarization. The open dialogue has always been the best method for creating the means of ending polarization, or as the wise sage once said, the lips of wisdom are shut except to the ears of understanding. So it's very much recognizing who and what you truly are, and not just and seeing beyond all these things which we've been taught. And so I want to read something else. Which goes along with what I was saying with the world of the metaphysician. This is like one of my favorite works. There's a dialogue, of course, venerable one, and this is from chapter 5. Chapter 5. This is what chapter is this? And it's in the Chanyuga Upanishad. This is the Chanyuga Upanishad. And it says, Venerable One asked the two disciples, what is it we see reflected in the water or in a mirror? It is the self you see in all these, he said to them. Now look at yourself in a bowl of water and ask me anything you want to learn about the self in capital, which is Atma. They looked at themselves in a bowl of water. What did you see in the water? I have seen the self, even the hair and the nails. Put on your best clothes, adorn your body, and look again in the water. They did so, and came back to Pajapati. What did you see in the water? He asked. We have seen the self, Atman, well dressed and well adorned, they replied. That is the self, fearless and deathless. That is Brahman, the Supreme. Indra and Virachana went away, satisfied, but Pajapati said to himself, they have seen the self, but they have not recognized the self. They mistake the self to be the body. Those who think that the self is the body will lose their way in life. When you think that all that you are is your identity, or your culture, or your race, gender, sexuality, well, the same thing happens. And then you draw these distinctions about the world, and you think, and you draw these distinctions of this is this and that is that, without recognizing that you are that which you see. You see yourself also, and you also see the self in others. Once you recognize the way the divine sees things, the divine does not see distinction. It sees itself in all things. That's what a divine being would do. A quote-unquote divine being. I mean, Virachana, quite sure that the self is the body, went back to the godless and began to teach them that the body alone is to be saved. The body alone is to be adored. He taught them that whoever lives for indulging the senses will find joy in this world and the next. Remember that video that I did called on like demonic people? That's where that demonic attitude comes from, that Krishna warned Arjuna about. Senses will find joy in the world. Even today, people are called godless when they lack faith, love, and charity, because that is the way of the godless. They dress even dead bodies in fine clothes and adorn them with ornaments so that they may enjoy their life in the next world. But Indra, as he was on his way home to the gathering of the gods, began to question this knowledge. If the self is the same as the body, well dressed when the body is well dressed, well adorned, when the body is well adorned, then the self will be blind when the body is blind, lame when the body is lame, paralyzed when the body is paralyzed. And when the body dies, the self too will die. In such knowledge I see no value. A man who sees beyond the world of distinctions, and recognizes that there is much more than all these things that you're told matter. Again, Indra went back to Pajapati with fuel in hand. Why have you returned, Indra? His teacher asked. Did you not go away quite satisfied? Venerable one, replied Indra, if the self is well dressed when the body is well dressed, well adorned, and when the body is well adorned, then the self will be blind when the body is blind, lame when the body is lame, paralyzed when the body is paralyzed, and when the body dies, the self too will die. In such knowledge I see no value. You are thinking clearly, Indra, said Pajapati. Live with me for another 32 years, and I will teach you more of the self. So Indra lived with Pajapati for another 32 years. Then Pajapati said to him, that which moves about in joy in the dreaming state is the self, fearless and deathless. That is Brahman, the Supreme. Indra went away satisfied, but on his way home to the gathering of the gods, he began to question this knowledge. In the dreaming state, it is true the self, or Atman, self with the capital S, is not blind when the body is blind, nor lame when the body is lame, nor paralyzed when the body is paralyzed, nor slain when the body is slain. Yet to dream the self may appear to suffer and to be slain. It dreams the self may appear to suffer to be and to be slain. It may become conscious of pain and even weep. In such knowledge I see no value. Again Indra went back to Pajapati with fuel in hand. Why have you returned, Indra? His teacher asked. Did you not go away quite satisfied? Indra said, Venerable one, in the dream state, it is true the self is not blind when the body is blind, nor lame when the body is lame. Yet in the state of the self, yet in this state the self may still suffer and even weep. In such knowledge I see no value. You are thinking clearly, Indra, said Pajapati. Live with me another 32 years, and I will teach you more of the self. Indra lived with Pajapati for another 32 years. Then his teacher said, when a person is sleeping soundly, free from dreams, with a still mind, that is the self, fearless and deathless. That is Brahman, the Supreme. Indra went away satisfied, but on his way home to the gathering of the gods, he began to question this knowledge. In the state of dreaming, the state of dreamless sleep, one is not aware of oneself or any other. The state of dreamless sleep is very close to extinction. In this knowledge, I see no value. Again, Pajapati, Indra, went back to Pajapati with fuel in hand. And Why have you returned, Indra? His teacher asked. Did you not go away quite satisfied? Venerable one, replied Indra. In the state of dreamless sleep, one is not aware of oneself, or of any other. This is the world of indistinctions. This is the absolute. The world of dreamless sleep is very close to extinction. Or the state of dreamless sleep is very close to extinction. In this knowledge I see no value. You are thinking clearly, Indra, said Pajapati. Live with me another 5 years, and I will teach you to realize the self. Indra lived for another 5 years. Altogether, he lived with his teacher for 101 years, which is why people say even Indra had to live with his teacher for 101 years after that time. Pajapati revealed the highest truth of the self to Indra. It is true the body is perishable, but within it dwells the imperishable self. The body is subject to pleasure and pain. No one who identifies with the body can escape from pleasure and pain. Samsara, the state of becoming. But those who know they are not the body, pass beyond pleasure and pain to live in abiding joy. Like the wind, like clouds, like thunder and lightning, which rises from space without physical shape, and reach the transcendent light in their own form. Those who rise above body consciousness, i.e. the mind, ascend to the transcendent light in their real form, the self, Atman. In that state, free from attachment, they move at will, laughing, playing, and rejoicing. They know the self is not the body, but only tied to it for a time, as an ox is tied to its cart. Whenever one smells, speaks, hears, or thinks, they know it is the self that it sees, smells, speaks, hears, and thinks. The senses are but his instruments. Worshipping this self in the world of Brahman, the gods attained all worlds and all desires. Those who know the self and realize the self obtain all worlds and all desires. So said Pajapati. So taught Pajapati. And people don't look at things like this. They focus on these differences. Like these he's black, he's white, he's Hispanic, he's male, she's female, this and that. And then you ask yourself why people suffer. It's because we focus on this distinction of things rather than what things actually are. That there is this world of indistinction which exists outside of everyday human experience. It's not something we normally experience on a daily basis. And if people focused more on that, they'd realize what they really were. Yeah, and that's about all. Peace out.